Chasmosaurines. Welcome guys again to my channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank, you guessed it, dinosaurs. Today, find a long-awaited Chasmosaurin tier list. Why long-awaited? Because I did the Centrosaurin. That was my second video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Although it is one of my first videos, so it was a little more awkward. Not that I'm not awkward right now, but a little less than before. But yeah, it was like the second video. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the Chasmosaurin video, but then I got like ideas, and I wanted to do a lot of more videos, and I was like, you know, if I'm gonna do a Chasmosaurin, it's gonna be a little farther down the line. And I think I talked about a lot of different dinosaurs and different things already, so I'm gonna do the Chasmosaurin tier list. And while I was preparing this video, I just like did something, and I just like found out. I'm like, usually I use figures to, you know, more easily show you or properly show you like what I'm talking about, but actually have a ton. Like, I discovered I have a ton of Chasmosaurin figures. Well, not only me, I live with someone who also is a dino enthusiast like you and me, and yeah, they also have a bunch of Chasmosaurin figures. So it's gonna be way easier to just show you in person, which I think it's what, you know, makes my videos a little different than other dinosaur videos, for example. But we're gonna be, without further ado, thank you again for watching the videos, guys. I really appreciate it. Starting with Chasmosaurus. So we're gonna be starting with the namesake of the subfamily, Chasmosaurus, a smaller ceratopsian, smaller for the huge sizes they get, but you know, small to medium sized ceratopsian. One of the most basal forms of Chasmosaurinae, of the Chasmosaurines, and discovered in the late 1800s, one of the first ones we found. And yeah, we got two described species, Regalicerae and Belli. A ton of others have been named throughout the years. However, it comes down to two things: either they're a different genus, like, you know, Vegaceratops, or they are it's down to individual variation. So there's one thing ceratopses are known by their frills and how different they look. So individual variation has to come into play at some point, and a lot of them were just Chasmosaurus, either Belli or Regalicerae, until we discovered another one. But yeah, this is known from the Dinosaur Park Formation, another cool formation that we need to make a tier list about, definitely. And yeah, Chasmosaurus, we found a lot of specimens, and one of the things that it was proposed is that as juveniles they weren't solitary like a lot of dinosaurs were. That's because their limb proportions stay almost the same when they're juveniles and they're adults, so they weren't very fast, so they weren't getting away from any predators, so they probably needed the protection of adults. But yeah, Chasmosaurus, you can see right here, 3 horns, 1 nasal, 2 brow horns, and the triangular looking frill right here. You can see the ossifications, the parietals, all right there. As I said, it's pretty small Chasmosaurin. You got the beak as well. Pretty cool little guy. I want to say Chasmosaurus, starting with Chasmosaurus. I think it's pretty nice. I think it's a pretty middle of the pack ceratopsian. Pentaceratops. So Pentaceratops, the 5-horned faced lizard. So cool thing, it doesn't have 5 horns. Yeah, when they found the skull, basically with Pentaceratops, they just named the jugal bones as horns. They just described them as horns. So that's what they thought. But no, it doesn't have any more horns than your typical ceratopsian. But it does have some. I'm going to show you right here. This is a Pentaceratops figure, I know. You have these are the jugal ones. So you could see why they thought they were actual like horns. But yeah, Pentaceratops, one of the larger Chasmosaurines. You have the tall frill right here. These ones are forward curving horns. Got the nasal horn right here as well. Pretty heavily built for a ceratopsians as well. And It's from the Kirtland Formation, which is one that I haven't heard before, actually. when researching about Pentaceratops, it's like the first time I've heard that place mentioned at all. But no, the Pentaceratops is pretty cool because there is a theory going around, which is, I don't know if it's a theory anymore or if it's confirmed or it's an actual thing that is well known by now, but the fact that Pentaceratops is part of a lineage of transitional forms, which starts with another member of Chasmosaurinae, which I'm going to be talking about next. But basically, Pentaceratops is part of a ongoing evolution process, and I think that's pretty neat, honestly. And I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to compare it with the other Chasmosaurinae, but this little depression you see right here, these are the EP1s, epiparietal ones. You see them right here. They're like drooped downwards and to the front, and you can see the little depression here. And what is suggested is that depression actually disappeared as time went on, because I'm gonna show you with the previous form, with the previous evolution of this lineage, is how the depression was really like pronounced. So that's Pentaceratops. Their skulls are also very huge. Like, it's like 7 feet or something, which is insane. But it's not the biggest skull that we're gonna talk about today. So Pentaceratops, I'm gonna put in B tier again. I don't think I put it on A. I think the frill is nothing insanely it's really tall, but it's nothing insanely crazy. UTAHCERATOPS. So UTAHCERATOPS from the Kaiporowitz Formation, really rich formation as well. Its name meaning, well, guess where it is from. I'm just gonna say it might be from Utah. But yeah, UTAHCERATOPS is the first transitional form from the one that I was talking about in the Pentaceratops section. And I'm going to show you right here. I told you, I have there's a ton of Chasmosaurian figures. I don't know why. But main difference with the Pentaceratops, well, aside from being a little smaller, you can see the depression right here is really pronounced. It's almost like a hole there. And yeah, basically the main differences between UTAHCERATOPS and its lineage and other Chasmosaurians is, well, they still have the long ass face, the long snout. The horn is actually way further back than in other ones, other Chasmosaurians or Pentaceratops, to be like way back from the nostrils. And well, you can see also the brow horns are way shorter too. But yeah, they're really stocky. Something I didn't mention is the foot. So ceratopsian feet are like this. I don't know if you can actually see it. However, I think I can tell you that there's 3 clawed toes. So the 3 more inner toes are clawed, and the ones on the outside are more like vestigial. I can't speak vestigial. They don't actually walk on those toes. They're just, there because previous animals in its lineage had 5 toes, like all of us. But yeah, that's going to be UTAHCERATOPS. In one of the cool things is that ceratopsians, while being insanely, like, I was going to say popular. I mean, I'm trying to say insanely diverse. And there's so many different ceratopsians in the same formation. Like in Kaiporowitz Formation, where UTAHCERATOPS is, we have KOSMOCERATOPS, we have Nasutoceratops as well. And I think that's pretty insane, because that just shows you that there has to be some kind of niche partitioning. Like probably Chasmosaurians, by having the longer snouts, I think they were more selective feeders, so they were more picky when they were eating. UTAHCERATOPS, I like UTAHCERATOPS, honestly. And that model of UTAHCERATOPS is really good. And I think I like it more than Pentaceratops, so it's going to be an A tier. CHASMOSAURUS. So we're going to be moving to CHASMOSAURUS, which is a crazy looking ceratopsian by the frill. I mean, a lot of these ceratopsians, I'm ranking them just based on how much I like their frill, because basically ceratopsian bodies are almost all the same. Stocky, you know, short legs, short tail, really robust, but their size has changed a lot. So I just show you a UTAHCERATOPS. This is the same scale for CHASMOSAURUS. So one of the main defining features of CHASMOSAURUS is you can see first of all, the nose has the nose horn. It's blade-like, but like cut off at the top. It's like a blade-like nasal horn. And you can see right here, the frill has some weird, like hook-like ossifications going forward and down, and these two on the sides just curve downwards as well, which is weird. So weird for ceratopsians. Also, the horns, the brow horns pointed outwards, make it so hard to think that they fought with them. Which brings me to this little guy right here. Well, with other ceratopsians too, but me showing you this right here is like, why would ceratopsians fight predators with this kind of defense system? Makes no sense, at least to me. So that just brings out the debate of, why were the frills used for? What were they used for? Some people say, you know, back in the day, they were more, you know, if it had horns, they must have used it for self-defense. But no, this just shows me that these were more display features, you know, showing off, you know, maybe a little shoving match between males. But yeah, this was mostly like species recognition, you know, like, oh yeah, that's like, I'm a Chasmosaur, I'm a CHASMOSAURUS, I'm looking at that. CHASMOSAURUS, yeah, that's a CHASMOSAURUS. These were probably display features, you know. Maybe the ladies liked more flashy colored ones, you know. Who knows? CHASMOSAURUS is such a cool looking ceratopsian. I'm gonna put an A tier as well. It's really awesome looking. SPICLYPEUS. First of all, how do you pronounce this name? SPICLYPEUS? 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 I don't know. I'm just calling it SPICLYPEUS. I don't know if I said it that way in the intro. Whatever. SPICLYPEUS. Such a cool name, honestly. First of all, it sounds like a gladiator from ancient Rome, you know. SPICLYPEUS. Come towards me. But yeah, SPICLYPEUS, meaning spike shield, is relatively a new discovery, honestly. Like 2015, 2016, I remember. It was described. And we don't have a ton of SPICLYPEUS. The thing that we have is, well, first of all, one of the main ways that we can differentiate ceratopsians is, you know, by the frill. And once we have a frill of ceratopsians, we can confidently tell if they were like a different genus or like an existing one. So SPICLYPEUS looks a little bit like CHASMOSAURUS. It was thought to be CHASMOSAURUS. However, the frills differ a lot, and you can see it from the epiparietals, which I don't have a SPICLYPEUS figure, but I'm gonna show you with the CHASMOSAURUS. This bone right here, well, this one has like 10 hooks. This one was most like a one solid epiparietal. There's one bone just going on the top right here and curving a little bit down. But yeah, SPICLYPEUS, the actual specimen was like a 10-year-old, I believe, and it actually had a frill infection, an infection on the frill. It had a perforation in the bone, the actual frill bone, and I think it's theorized that it was an actual rival, which, you know, adds to the discussion of what were the horns and, you know, all the ornamentation on the frills made for. And displays a thing, and shoving or rival fights are a thing as well. So that just goes to show that those frills, if those spikes, if they were used in shoving matches and stuff, they were actually dangerous. So I think that's it for SPICLYPEUS. Notice I didn't say that much, but SPICLYPEUS is going to be, I don't want to put it in C tier because it's not that bad. I'm going to put it in B tier, and I'm going to lower PENTACERATOPS to C tier. I'm sorry, Penta. REGALICERATOPS. So REGALICERATOPS is another recent discovery. When I say recent, I mean this century, because for this century is recent. Yeah, so REGALICERATOPS is really interesting. I don't have a figure to show you, but REGALICERATOPS has a more centrosaurine features than CHASMOSAURine features. How do we know it's a CHASMOSAURine? Well, because of the morphology of the snout and all. We only have the skull of REGALICERATOPS, and the only thing it's missing is the lower jaw. But REGALICERATOPS has this almost semicircular frill, and it has, I don't know, they describe it away in the actual paper, but what I see it as is like the actual horns in the parietal and epiparietal. There is one in the middle, which is like fused, so it's only one parietal, and the ones on that adorn the crown is called the royal lizard, and make it look like a flower petal, like not a flower petal. It looks like a flower with the petals like around. It's actually pretty rad looking ceratops, and the fact it's not a centrosaurine, it's a CHASMOSAURine too, is pretty interesting as well. That means there's a kind of a convergent evolution, especially specifically for REGALICERATOPS, since they favor, maybe their species favor more of these semicircular types of frills. But yeah, REGALICERATOPS lived in St. Mary's River Formation, which is a very interesting formation because I haven't heard a lot of it. There's actually Albertosaurus, Saurnitholestes, Montonia, Pachyrhinosaurus, Anchiceratops as well, yes. But yeah, that's REGALICERATOPS. I really like REGALICERATOPS, honestly. I'm going to put it in A tier. Yeah, A tier. And I think I might push UTAHCERATOPS to S tier. I love UTAHCERATOPS so much. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. TOROSAURUS. So we're going to be moving on to TOROSAURUS. We're in the Maastrichtian now, which is the later part of the Cretaceous when dinosaurs went extinct. And TOROSAURUS is a popular dinosaur. However, it almost always lives in the shadow of another ceratopsian. You know which one I'm talking about, because they're from the same time and almost the same formation. So TOROSAURUS, a huge Chasmosaurine. Actually, first of all, am I the only one that thought TOROSAURUS? I mean, TOROSAURUS means perforated lizard, which is fine because the frill has the fenestrae, this frill fenestrae where they have the holes in the skull. But as a Spanish speaker, TOROSAURUS is the bull lizard makes a lot more sense. It has two horns. This blew my mind when I found out some years ago. I was so sad. But TOROSAURUS, similar in size to TRICERATOPS, which are huge. Like this last couple of ceratopsians are elephant-sized animals, which is put it into perspective, because TOROSAURUS has the largest skull of any land animal that has walked the earth. Land animal. At 9.1 feet. That is insane. That is the skull of an animal. Imagine walking around with that, with that amount of big head. But yeah, TOROSAURUS is so cool. Some years ago, they tried to invalidate it because they were saying that it was a late-stage Triceratops. Now, this is a controversy because Obviously, Torosaurus will never be a Triceratops. It's way better than Triceratops. I'm sorry, Triceratops fans. No, I know it's the most popular one, but Torosaurus is cooler. Look at this guy. It's insanely big. This is a mammoth. It's so cool. On the topic of the mouths, and this one has an articulated one. Cheeks. So Ceratopsians, there's the debate as well that they had cheeks or didn't have cheeks. The way the dentary works is that they probably didn't have. So they were probably more like this. But yeah. So I was saying with the controversy about Triceratops is that it was a late stage Triceratops. It's basically not. They say that, yeah, we know that it's just very matured Triceratops. We don't have Triceratops specimens that are that old. That's a lie. It's just a straight up lie, because we have very old Triceratops. And we also have subadult Torosaurus that we found. So that's just nonsense. But yeah, with the lack of also transitional forms between the two, come on. Torosaurus is cool. It's awesome. Torosaurus is S tier. Triceratops. So we've landed at the end of the tier list with Triceratops. Now, I know I talked a little bit crap about Triceratops. I'm sorry. Triceratops is awesome too. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to show you this big ass Triceratops figure. We have the frill, which is not very elaborate for a Chasmosaurian. This is very rounded and very short for a Chasmosaurian. And actually this, I mean, if I was to take this as an adult individual, they shouldn't have this parietal bones. They should be fused with the frill. So it shouldn't be like protruding like that. You have the long snout, which is characteristic of Chasmosaurians. And you have the long nasal bone, which means this is one of two species. There is Procerus and Horridus. So this should be Procerus, because it has a longer nasal bone. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's Procerus. And I think this figure is actually heavily inspired by the Yoshi Strike, which is a Triceratops skull that has insanely large brow horns, which you can see right here. They're freakishly long. If they were long in the fossil, imagine if covered with the keratin sheets that they should be when they were alive. Insane. But yeah, Triceratops, massive animal. Again, elephant-sized creatures, which just put us into perspective how big they are. And we actually found a ton of Triceratops fossils with skin impressions too. I don't know if the camera can pick it up right here, but it has some nipple-like, I say nipple-like scales, like scattered throughout the body. Which are like 100 millimeters wide, which is pretty big for scales. But they're all throughout the body as well. Those are from skin impressions. And we have so many specimens, and we actually have like a very good idea of the ontogenetic journey that these guys went when they were alive. When they were very small, you can see their horns were like protruding upwards, very short frill as well. They were very ugly but very cute. And they basically developed into these big guys, you know, more rounded, more wider looking frill. You know, the horns developed, their snouts elongated more. But yeah, that's basically Triceratops. You know, the most famous, probably top 3 famous dinosaurs. Your grandma probably knows what a Triceratops is. Is an awesome looking dinosaur, I know. However, in this tier list, I'm going to put you in A tier, I know. But Torosaurus is better, believe me. Don't get wrapped in the Triceratops agenda. There are ceratopsians with way cooler frills than Triceratops. But yes, so this is the Chasmosaurine tier list. Again, these are not all the Chasmosaurians. There are a ton of Chasmosaurians more that we could talk in another tier list. But this is going to be the end of this one. Guys, let me know what you think, what you like, what you didn't like, what will you change on the tier list. Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all of that. It really helps. It really, really helps. And yeah, let me know how will you make your tier list. What's your favorite Chasmosaurian as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.